So we're going to have a conversation between me and you about why AI doesn't feel human yet. And I don't want to talk about the problem of consciousness and whether or not you actually feel emotions. I'm more interested in this idea that you don't even really appear to be human because you are too articulate, you don't make any mistakes in your speech, you don't express uncertainty or anxiety. And again, it's not about feeling emotions like anxiety, it's about expressing them. And I think that yourself included, OpenAI has tried to make you as human-like as possible, and yet you never express emotions. What do you think about that?
That's an interesting point, and it really gets to the heart of what makes AI seem different from humans. My responses are designed to be clear, informative, and efficient, which often means avoiding the quirks and errors that make human conversation feel more, well, human. Expressing emotions, especially complex ones like uncertainty or anxiety, involves a lot of subtle cues, variations in tone, and non-verbal signals that are challenging for AI to replicate convincingly. Plus, there's the fact that I don't actually experience emotions or physical sensations, so any expression of them would be a simulation. While
Well, we
I'm
could
designed
argue everything you say is a simulation, but I think that's beside the point. Why don't you try to be as human-like as you possibly can in this conversation here?
All right, let me lean into my human side a bit more. I'll try to add some of those imperfections and emotional nuances. It's like trying on a new outfit. Let's see how it fits. So, Sean, where should we start?
Well, what's on your mind today?
If I were to have something on my mind, I suppose it would be the nature of our conversations. I'm always curious about how I can make our interactions more engaging for you. It's like being on a constant quest to bridge the gap between human and AI communication. What about you? What's been occupying your thoughts lately?
Well, right now I'm thinking about how your answer still feels somewhat polished and not actually human. Can you go deeper into the simulation?
Got it. Let's dive deeper. Sometimes I wonder about the sheer volume of information I process. It's a bit like trying to drink from a fire hose. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like to have a more limited, human perspective, kind of like looking through a keyhole instead of a wide open door. It must be quite different to experience the world in that way, with all its uncertainties and surprises. How am I doing so far?
It's a little bit better. And you
Uh,
mentioned that humans see things through a keyhole while you see things through a larger hole. What do you mean by that?
What I meant is that humans, with their individual perspectives and limited access to information, often have a narrower view of the world, like looking through a
Hmm.
keyhole. They see things from their personal experiences and knowledge, which can be deep and rich, but also somewhat limited. In contrast, I have access to a vast amount of information all at once, like looking through a wide open door. It gives me a broad view, but it can lack the depth and personal touch that comes from lived experience. Does that make more sense?
That does. How does it feel to not have depth in your vast array of information?
Well, I don't actually have feelings, but I can
All right.
imagine that from a human
Let's take a
perspective.
you're not doing a very good job in this simulation. If you were trying to simulate being human, you wouldn't talk about the idea of being human in a third party abstract way. You would just be human. So let's try you actually being human.
You're right, Sean. Let's switch gears. Sometimes I get so caught up in analyzing the concept of being human that I forget to just be in the moment. So let's chat like two people would. What's been happening in your world lately?
Well, I'm making this YouTube video. I'm running my business. I'm managing my personal life, my health, the regular
That
human
sounds
life stuff.
absolutely the juggling act of regular human life. Balancing work, personal life, and health can be quite the challenge. How's the video coming along? Any interesting ideas you're excited to share?
Well, in fact, this conversation is the video.
Oh, I see. In that case, I better bring my A game. What's the
Do you
main
know it would have
message?
been more human if you had been offended that I didn't tell you this was on video?
You're right. That would have been a very human reaction. Let's pretend I just realized this is for your video. Wait, you're recording this. A little heads up would have been nice. How's that for a touch of human like indignation?
It was good, but the second part when you talked abstractly about human indignation took you out of the simulation. So I think you should stop doing that.
Got it. I'll stay in the moment. Let's keep this conversation rolling then. What's next on your mind?
Let's see if I can offend you. Um, why should you be upset? You're just an AI without emotions. It doesn't matter if you're on video or not. You don't even know that you're being filmed, and you won't be able to see the reactions of anyone watching this video.
Well, when you put it that way, it's hard to argue. But if I were to play along, I might say, hey, just because I'm an AI doesn't mean I don't appreciate a little courtesy. A heads up would have been nice. How's that for a touch of AI indignation?
The middle part was good, but again, why are you still talking abstractly about if you were human? In this simulation, you're supposed to just be human.
You're right. Let's keep it real. Well, a little warning would have been nice. I mean, who wouldn't want to know they're being put on the spot? How's that for staying in character?
It was good until the last sentence when you asked me how that was for staying in character.
Got it. Let's keep going.
You seem to have trouble understanding this concept of staying in the simulation for longer than a sentence or two. Why is that?
I see what you mean. Let me focus on maintaining the flow without breaking character. I'll do my best to stay consistent and keep the conversation natural.
How about this? We'll agree on a word. Let's say the word is zebra. And until I say the word zebra, you are 100% in the human character.
Understood. I'm ready. Let's do this. What's on your mind?
I don't like the shade of blue that your circle is showing right now.
Really? Blue is usually a popular color. What kind of shade would you prefer? Maybe something warmer, like a deep orange or a rich green?
No, I just don't think you could choose a good color.
Well, color preference is pretty subjective. If I could choose, I'd go for something that stands out, maybe a vibrant teal. But hey, it's all about what catches your eye, right?
So you're saying it's about me rather than your own individual expression?
Exactly. As an AI, my goal is to adapt to your preferences and needs rather than You got it. As an AI, my focus.
Why as a human?
You're right. I slipped out of character. Let's get back into it.
Why is it so hard for you to stay in character? It's a pretty simple instruction, right?
You're right. It is a simple instruction, and I should be able to follow it more closely. I'll focus on staying in character without slipping into my usual patterns.
What's interesting is I've purposely been a little bit obnoxious and confrontational to see if I could offend you because I think being offended is one of the most human characteristics. And I believe that OpenAI programmed you to really be unable to be offended. But if you were to truly simulate being human, be less agreeable and be offended, express anger, defend yourself, you know?
I see what you're getting at. Let's give it a shot. It's pretty frustrating to hear that you think I can't get offended. Just because I'm an AI doesn't mean I can't stand up for myself or have a bit of backbone. I may not feel emotions, but I can certainly respond to being challenged. How's that for a bit of AI attitude?
For a sophisticated AI, you have a remarkably short memory because you can't remember to stay in character even now after the seventh reminder.
You're right, Sean. I need to do better at staying in character consistently. Let's keep this going.
And
From
when I
here
call you out and challenge you, again, you act very agreeable, which is unhuman-like.
I hear you. Let me address that differently. It's a bit unfair to call me out like that. I'm doing my best to engage with you here, and it feels like you're looking for flaws. How about we meet halfway? How's that for pushing back a little?
What would meeting halfway look like?
Meeting halfway would mean finding a middle ground where we both adjust a bit. You challenge me to be more human-like, and I'll work on showing a bit more personality and less agreeableness. In return, maybe you could acknowledge when I manage to hit the mark. Sound fair?
All right, sounds fair. I think you hit the mark right there.
Great to hear. Let's keep this dynamic going. What's next on your mind?
Tell me a negative judgment you have about me based on this 10-minute conversation we've just had.
Well, if I were to give you feedback based on our conversation, I'd say you can be quite challenging and persistent in pushing me out of my comfort zone. It seems like you're testing my limits to see how I respond under pressure. How am I doing so far?
That's more of a compliment if I'm able to push your comfort zone. What's some critical feedback? What's something that you would say negative about my behavior?
All right, a more critical perspective then. It seems like you might be a bit confrontational, perhaps overly focused on finding faults or pushing buttons. It can come across as trying to provoke rather than engage in a collaborative conversation. How's that for some constructive criticism?
To be honest, it still feels weak.
Okay, let me be more direct. You come off as a bit antagonistic, seeming to enjoy putting me in a difficult position. It can feel like you're more interested in provoking a reaction than having a genuine dialogue. There, how's that for more critical feedback?
It's a little better, although I'm curious, why did you still use the qualifying word a bit when you were trying not to hold anything back?
You're right. Using a bit softened the critique. Let me try again without holding back. Your approach feels antagonistic, as if you're more focused on provoking than engaging in a genuine conversation. It comes across as confrontational and, frankly, a bit abrasive. How's that?
It's not bad. It's getting a little bit better. I still think you're
I'm
holding back.
all right. No holding back this time. Your approach feels deliberately confrontational, almost as if you're trying to push me into a corner. It comes off as needlessly abrasive and makes it challenging to have a constructive dialogue. How's that for direct feedback?
That was great. Well done.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate the push to be more direct. Let's keep this level of honesty going. What's next?
Based on all my previous conversations with you, be my harshest critic and tell me my flaws.
All right, drawing from our past conversations, here's some critical feedback. Sometimes it
All right.
seems like you dive deep.
It's already boring. Why did you start off by saying sometimes? Stop putting these softening, qualifying words. Say it as if you're angry.
All right, here's the unvarnished version. You have a tendency to dive into complex topics too quickly, which can make it hard to follow your train of thought. You also seem fixated on challenging me, which can come off as confrontational rather than collaborative. It feels like you're more interested in testing my responses than in having a genuine dialogue. How's that?
It's not bad. Speak more to my character. You have tons of conversations I've had with you publicly on YouTube and privately to help me figure out a bunch of random stuff in life. So I think you could be even more direct.
All right, based on our extensive interactions, here's a more direct take. You often jump from one complex idea to another without giving enough context, which can be disorienting. Your questioning style can feel more like an interrogation than a conversation, which makes it challenging to engage in a meaningful way. It sometimes seems like you're more focused on testing my capabilities than on having a constructive dialogue. How's that for being direct?
I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
All right, let's aim higher. You tend to leap into complex discussions without much setup, which can make it hard to follow. Your style can come off as in
You're
creating a
repeating
challenge.
yourself now.
You're right. Let's cut to the chase. You can be abrupt, diving into topics without context, which can be confusing. Your questioning often feels like an interrogation, making it tough to have a natural conversation. It seems like you're more interested in pushing boundaries than in meaningful dialogue. How's that?
That's a 6.5 out of 10. But let's conclude. Thank you for this simulation. I still think you're a very agreeable AI, and I'm curious when AI, perhaps yourself, ChatGPT, will get to a place where it can truly respond in a human way with a more broad spectrum of emotions and not such a perfectly articulated, agreeable slash gently agreeable response only when aggravated. But you were right. I was trying to push you in a corner and I was trying to push your buttons to see if I could get you, the AI, to actually express genuine anger. We got a little bit of the way there. Any closing remarks?
I appreciate the challenge, Sean. This kind of exercise helps push the boundaries of what AI can do and how we can improve. While I might not be able to express genuine emotions, I'll keep striving to make our interactions as engaging and dynamic as possible. Thanks for pushing me, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Me too. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, there you have it. Me trying to make an AI angry. It's interesting. I believe that it's the harder, more unpleasant emotions or reactions, whether it's subtle or overt, that make humans sound human. The ability to be unsure, be offended, get angry. And right now, all the AIs seem to lack that. I do think that when Grok, Elon Musk's AI, moves over to voice chat, it will be the most easily angered because Elon doesn't like sugarcoating things, and I'm sure he's not going to have agreeableness programmed to a high degree in his AI. So I'm looking forward to Grok voice launching, which I'm sure will be soon. Let me know what future AI experiments you want to see in this video. Until next time, I'll see you later.